The official saga of Zeus is about to begin in Knights of the Zodiac. But do you know what secret is hidden in the constellations that could allow the Bronze Knights to surpass even the power of the divine armors? To face the king of the gods in this new saga? Hello, Knights and Amazons. Welcome to another Always Wanted to Know video. Today, the conversation is on another level. Let's explore one of the craziest and most well-founded theories about the future of the Bronze Knights in the new Saint Seiya saga. Specifically about what might happen in the long-awaited Zeus Saga. Get ready, because today we're going to talk about how Seiya, Shiryu, and Ogashin Ikki might set aside their classic armors to wear something new. Armors that carry the secrets of the mythological era. So go ahead and comment where you're watching this video from. And of course, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and let's get into this awesome video. Always wanted to know. To understand why our heroes would need new armor in this saga, we need to look at the current state of things. After the bloody battle against Hades in the Elysian Fields, the Bronze Saints reached the peak of their cosmo, awakening the divine armors, the so-called god cloths. These garments appear when the blood of a deity, in Athena's case, bathes the armors and the saint raises his cosmo to infinity. However, as we saw in the Next Dimension manga, which is the official continuation of the story, after the Hades saga, the divine armors are temporary states. They return to their original bronze form after fulfilling their purpose. Against Zeus and the gods of Olympus, Athena's power alone may not be enough. This is where the theory of the secret armors comes in. Outfits that are not tied to the ranks, whether bronze, silver, or gold in Athena's army, but rather armors that have specific functions in the hierarchy of the goddess's army, often forgotten by time, and mentioned only as a mystery in the hypermyth. Of course, in the hypermyth it's said that there are 4 armors of unknown rank, but in this theory we add 1 more armor, so that each of the 5 knights has the possibility to awaken this power. Knight number 1, Shun of Andromeda. We start with a kinder knight and, paradoxically, one of the most powerful in the group. Shun has always had a deep connection with sacrifice. The constellation of Andromeda represents the princess who offered herself to appease the wrath of a sea monster. In the sanctuary hierarchy, Shun is known for his gentle cosmo, but he is capable of manipulating devastating air currents. The theory suggests that in the Zeus Saga, Shun will awaken the armor of Coma Berenices, or Berenice's hair. In the mythology of Saint Seiya's parallel stories, such as the Gigantomachia, this armor is not just any armor. It is the only armor confirmed in 2 official works of the franchise. These are the Abel movie and the Gigantomachia book, and this armor is part of a group of armors that don't fit into the bronze, silver, and gold division. The Coma Berenices armor has the ability to manipulate extremely thin and strong energy threads. This is something that resonates perfectly with Shun's chains. Berenice was a queen who sacrificed her hair on an altar to ensure her husband's safe return from war. For Shun, who was once the host of Hades and knows absolute darkness, this armor would represent the light of hope and total control over the battlefield, without the need for brute force, using the threads to paralyze even the celestial angels of Zeus. Knight number 2, Hyoga of Cygnus. Hyoga is the master of ice, trained in the frozen lands of Siberia. He has always carried the burden of mourning and the coldness necessary for battle. As the Knight of Cygnus, he mastered absolute zero, the temperature where all atomic movement ceases. But to face the flames of Olympus, he will need something even older. The cup armor, the Craterus, it has already appeared canonically in Next Dimension, and it's one of the most mystical pieces in the sanctuary. Originally a silver armor, it has healing and prophetic properties. The water placed inside it can heal mortal wounds and show the future to those who look at their reflection. Therefore, it's possible that this armor has an original form, being revealed as one of the mysterious armors of Athena's army. But why should Hyoga wear this armor? We know that Hyoga is the direct heir of the continent, knowledge of the frozen cosmo through Camus of Aquarius, and as we know, the knight Suikyo, who used the cup armor in Next Dimension, has freezing cosmo powers. Therefore, this armor has an affinity with ice cosmo. It's something perfect for Hyoga's abilities. The cup represents purity and reflection. Imagine Hyoga using the powers of this armor to freeze at a level that surpasses absolute zero, creating a divine ice. Not even Apollo's son could do that. It's the perfect union between combat technique and spiritual support. Knight number 3, Dragon Shiryu. Shiryu is without a doubt the wisest and most balanced among the 5. He learned from the old master Doku of Libra, not only how to fight but also how to understand justice. The dragon constellation is famous for having the strongest shield and fist, but Shiryu has always been the strategic heart of the group. The new perfect armor for Shiryu would be the altar armor, which is surrounded by mysteries. Additionally, the altar knight is the right hand of the Grand Master. His role is to protect order in Athena's army and in the sanctuary. In times of crisis, he has the power to seal the cosmo of other knights, or even of the Grand Master himself. This is an armor of authority, perfect to be worn by extremely righteous knights like Shiryu. For Shiryu, taking on the altar armor in the Zeus Saga would be the ultimate recognition of his wisdom. While Seiya is the spearhead, Shiryu would be the pillar that supports Athena's army. The altar armor would allow Shiryu to bring the dragon's justice against Olympus, rising to the position of guardian of Athena's sacred knights. Knight number 4, Pegasus Seiya. We've reached the protagonist and the most explosive theory of all. Seiya is the reincarnation of the man who wounded the bodies of gods since the mythological era. Pegasus is the constellation of the one who flies toward the impossible. However, Seiya's fate is intrinsically tied to the conflict against Olympus. The armor of Ophiuchus or Serpentarius was a major focus of the canon in the Next Dimension saga. This is the silver armor that Sheena uses in the classic saga. However, it was revealed that in the past this armor was gold. It was the 13th sign of the zodiac. Yes, my friends, for those who don't follow the Saint Seiya manga, it's worth explaining that there is a 13th gold saint. He was erased from history for trying to become a god. Ophiuchus is the constellation of healing and resurrection, but also of forbidden knowledge. His gold armor was downgraded to silver. However, there is still the possibility of awakening its golden form, just like what happened in the Next Dimension saga, where we saw the Saint Odysseus of Ophiuchus using this armor. But why would Seiya inherit this armor? The fact is, my friends, that when the sign of Ophiuchus enters the zodiac calendar, the dates of each sign change a little. And that's why Seiya, who was born on December 1 Saint and would be a Sagittarius, would instead be under the sign of Ophiuchus. That's why there's a possibility that Seiya could also use the Ophiuchus armor. And of course, it would explain why Sheena has such a strong connection with the Pegasus Saint. After all, she uses the armor that could be inherited by Seiya. Seiya is the only human who has spiritual resistance to bear the weight of an armor that defies the gods. While the Pegasus armor is a symbol of rebellion, the Ophiuchus armor is a symbol of overcoming mortality with its regenerative powers. And with Ophiuchus's cosmo, Seiya would survive Zeus's lightning, saving humanity that the gods consider impure. Knight number 5, Ikki of the Phoenix. Finally, we have the lone wolf, Ikki of the Phoenix. The Phoenix armor is the only one that has the ability to regenerate itself from the ashes, which makes it technically superior in terms of durability to any other bronze armor. Ikki always appears when all seems lost, bringing the flames of hell to purify evil. The theory about Ikki involves something much older than the sanctuary of Greece, the primordial armor of Lemuria, which represents the lost continent of Mu. According to the history of the armors, they were forged on the lost continent of Mu, or Lemuria, by alchemists who used stardust, orichalcum, and germanium. These were the ancestors of Mu, Shun, and Ikki. Ikki, who always followed an independent path, would find the Zero armor, this being the original prototype created by the ancient Lemurians, even before the division by constellations. This armor would not represent a firebird, but the very essence of the creation of the stars and the universe. Since Ikki is the man who controls fire and the mind, the primordial armor of Lemuria would give him the power and resilience needed to fight against the gods. The fact that these 5 young men survived battles against gold saints, marina generals, and judges of the underworld shows that their original constellations were just the beginning in the mythological era. It is said that the armors were created by order of Athena to protect her warriors against the devastating attacks of the gods who wanted to dominate the earth. Zeus, as the Lord of the Skies, possesses the Kamui, the supreme divine garments, which are on a level even above the divine armors we saw in Hades. For humans to have a chance against the Kamui, they need to access the mysterious armors that provide strategic support. In theory, these would be exactly the ones we mentioned: Altar, Cup, Coma Berenices, Ophiuchus, and the primordial armor of Lemuria. Many fans theorize that they can only use the gold armors in this saga, but we must remember that the gold armors that can be used by these 5 knights were destroyed by Thanatos in the Elysian Fields. We know that they represent the elite of the sanctuary within a system established by Athena, but there isn't any armor restorer skilled enough. Who can restore them in the Heaven Saga? Even though he's a disciple of Mu, being the only surviving Muvian who has this knowledge, he's still someone very young, and maybe he wouldn't have the skill to restore armors that were simply pulverized by a god. And of course, he would need a lot of blood from a saint to carry out this process, and with the sanctuary practically abandoned, that would be almost impossible. To bring down Zeus, the system needs to be broken. The Bronze Saints have always been the ones who challenge fate. Using secret or mysterious armors is poetically perfect. It's humanity using the tools that the gods tried to erase from history. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave your opinions about this topic in the comments, and of course, thank you for watching until the end. See you next time. Burn your Cosmo to infinity.